Good afternoon, everyone. I am responsible for the Inquiring Minds monthly series under the auspices of Toronto Mensa, and I warmly welcome you to this Zoom meetings edition of Toronto Mensa Inquiring Minds. My name is Kathleen Smith. It is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Igor Sokolov is a student at the University of Toronto, where he is working towards a PhD in anthropology. His focus is on bringing video games into academia as a subject that is worthy of research. Igor is the leader of a game studio called Unplay the Game. Here, he is focused on developing unique and innovative types of strategies and moves, and on playing with meanings. His own video game, Imagine Sisyphus Happy, incorporates these novel strategies. Imagine Sisyphus Happy was recently featured on the leading game website, IGN, where it went viral. The game is a lighthearted, ironic tribute to Albert Camus, the author of the book, The Myth of Sisyphus. Camus was the founder of absurdism and one of the fathers of existentialism. He received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1957 for his writing that opposed totalitarianism and championed the human conscience. Some of you probably know Igor, who is a Mensan and attends Mensa events. Welcome, Igor Sokolov.
Hello, and thank you for introduction. I'll start sharing the screen, and I'll be one of the reasons we decided to go with meetings that I will be asking some questions just to understand where we're going and to try to get some engagement. So first of all, who plays video games here? Just to understand. Yeah, you can also raise hand that there's a gesture for that, but cool. We have some people who play video games, and the reason I'm addressing this is video games have a reputation of being something purely entertaining, and usually entertaining in a very shallow way, and that's something that I'm personally been battling in many ways throughout my life, and that's what I'll be talking about in this mini lecture today. So first part of the mini lecture will be close to what I'm teaching in some of the classes I do at U of T about how video games can be used in knowledge production. And the other part will be about my experience in making games. And I'm pretty new to actually making games. I have way more academic background than game making background, and I'm trying to marry the two. So the topic for this lecture today is game mechanics as game language, and how can we make meanings with game mechanics. First of all, I want to talk about what kind of languages do video games have, because video games have quite a lot of different languages. And one, and the most obvious one, is text narrative. Video game can have text in them. Quite a lot of video games do have it. And this is a screenshot from arguably the best ever textual video game, Disco Elysium, which was released about 10 years ago, which was very critical of capitalism, but in a very deep philosophical way, but still in a nice enough way to become really popular. And it doesn't do it in a very leftist way. It just covers all the different very political but very deeply political textual game, and very conscious. So this is one of the languages, and this is actually the easiest language to do in video games. And I think that's not the best language to do in video games because you can also do it in a book. So, like, why do textual video game if you have a book? And if some people might remember, probably more like a thing of the past, but there used to be books where you can choose your own adventure, where you like, if you choose this, flip to this page, and so on. And that's kind of like a prototype for like textual games in a way, which was way before video games, or at least way before video games became a big thing. Another language we have is like audio and visual language, where we have like fancy images, computer graphics, music, and stuff like that, which can also be used to create and transmit meanings. But again, this also can be used, for example, by movies. So that's not a like unique language of video games. Another language which is more unique with video games, and it resorts to like online games, is like direct human interaction. So in video games, especially if you play online, you have other humans in there, and you can interact with them that you cannot do inside a movie or like a book. And the fourth one, the one which I'm personally most interested in, is game mechanics as a language. And by game mechanics, I mean the way the game is structured to make a player behave. And by making a player behave in a certain way, it can produce certain ideas, certain emotions, certain sensations in the player. And this is partially like a unique part that video games have. And more broadly, my broader argument about how video games are unique compared to books or movies is that video games have you inside them. So they allow for way more agency than a book or a movie can do. And there are a lot of meaningful effects that you can produce through this agency. One way would be through like putting you into like certain emotional states. And another way is making, rather than telling you something directly, making a player discover the ideas or thoughts while they're interacting with the game. And like some people in the game system, in the game studies, frame it as that like in movies and in books, after creates experience, but in a video game, uh, generally, after cannot create an experience. After can create a system where a player creates experience. So this gives a lot of agency to the player compared to like more traditional media. And my point is that thing is not just should not be just resort for entertainment, and it has like a lot of implications to many other aspects of life rather than just having fun. Although like nothing wrong with having fun, but just like that's not the only thing that games are capable of. So, uh, another way, things that I'm interested in is sometimes it's called like meta narrative, where like the story or like the ideas are being told not through like direct text, as in this text narrative, but through interaction with players. Like players create their own uh, meanings by interacting with the game. So, but when we go to the academia, like games are very much discriminated against in a sense that they are connected to like a younger audience or like shallower narratives or like shallower ideas and stuff like that. And there are a lot of things that like a lot of academics right now are like let's do more games, let's do connect games to like universities and stuff like that. But usually like from how I perceive it, it's done in a very shallow way itself. For example, one of the popular thing is gamification. So like gamification is like something that happens quite often right now at the workplace, also quite often in universities, where you try to do to use some game mechanics like challenges or rewards or achievements to make people more motivated to do what you actually want them to do. So it's kind of like trying to design dopamine traps and interactions to manipulate people into doing what you want to do. which I think is a very shallow and taking the not the best and in some ways like the worst part of games and just like abusing it to achieve a manipulative goal of business or for education or something else. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that's not what games are really about. Another thing is in a general narrative about using games for motivation because like younger generation, oh, they don't read, they only play games. So how can we make use of games to teach them stuff that we want them to teach? But the problem again here is that it maintains uh, this kind of idea that games is used just as a tool or like something in disguise to put something in the head of students that we want to put them and just using games as a like as a trick so they can treat okay, let's make it a fun way to read like through the game with like characters saying text and so on, which I think again like misses the whole point of what actually games can do. And again like I would say it's a little bit manipulative. And what's interesting though, within academia, less on the like undergraduate level, more like on a like research level and graduate level, especially in humanities, a lot of discourse about how very hierarchical model of knowledge production is problematic in itself. So like we need to try to get away from a strictly hierarchical way and get into more engaging and reciprocal way of knowledge creation. And that's actually where games are better because they have more capacity for students to discover stuff themselves rather than have this kind of like broadcasting model of knowledge transmission as like a person of authority saying like patient students of what is right and what is wrong. Like and like there's like lots of research that like of people when people discover by themselves what's good and what's not for them, that's way have way more impact on their lives rather than being just like pushed on them from like a position of authority. Um, Another thing that like is very popular is like when people study social side of games, how people study games, and that's especially in my field of anthropology. If you like say, "Oh, I want to do games in anthropology," they say, "Oh, you want to study how people play games, right?" And that's nothing wrong with that, but that's again not what I'm really interested in because here again, games are treated as something that is like a tool to uh, study how people interact rather than something that has value in itself. Uh, and I'm more interested as a game as a thing in itself. And moreover, I'm more interested in a game as a medium for like knowledge production, knowledge transmission, and stuff like that. And game as a thing as itself is more or less becoming accepted in academia, in game studies, where people study the games, the contents of the games, but it is still, even in game studies, far less acceptable. For example, if you say like, "Oh, I want to study this book for my dissertation or whatever," everybody sees, okay, yeah, you can actually study a book and like engage with it in a certain way, compare it with other books and so on. So you can engage in what is said in the book and make it as a like your uh, like subject of studying. But it's like very rare to say something like this about the game because like game is not perceived as something that can have a good enough or strong enough message that should be studied, could be studied, could be compared. Unless we're talking about again like game design from business perspective, but that's a completely different topic, which I'm not talking right here. Like how to make a game that sells well. It's a good topic in itself, but like very like unrelated to what like I'm trying to say now. And this is like studied pretty well. So this is kind of like my line of like what I'm interested in trying to do. Uh, so I'll move the screen around a little bit. Um, Another cool part is that how right now in academia, especially in humanities, and outside of academia in humanities as well, like when we talk about like postmodernism and like trying to talk about the boundaries between like after and reader, when we talk about like who there is a lot of things going on in literature studies about like blurring the boundary between the book and the reader. Is the reader a co-producer of the like reading experience, or is it just a passive receptor of what author is intended to say? So there's a lot of things like this going on in academia, but these are like a hard arguments to make, and a lot of people are making those arguments. And what's cool about the game, this is like a default state of the game. In the game, there is no experience that is already there. You cannot, unless the game is extremely simplistic, you cannot really make a very predicted way of how the player will experience the game. The player will always do something that like game designer will never anticipate, never planned for, and this create a unique experience. And like every playthrough of a game is in a way a unique experience that cannot be duplicated and becomes way more personal experience. Again, you can make a similar argument about watching a movie and reading a book, but it's I won't say a far-fetched argument, but it's like a deep and subtle argument. But in the game, that's exactly in the face. That's exactly what the games are made for. And that's what I'm like trying to exploit in, what is a bad term, but like explore, let's say, in making games in academia. And I'll now go through a few examples of video games that uh, not I'm making, but they are made, and how they achieve certain effects that I think are very cool and meaningful and go along the lines that I was talking about. So I'll start with this game. Anybody knows this game? Yeah, most of the examples here are from the last 20 years, or like by modern merits, it's a very old game. It's last 18 years old, I guess. Maybe even 20 years old. There was like an anniversary recently. So this game is called Braid, and this game is, uh, in a way, you can say it's like a parody on Super Mario game. You play as this character in like a suit who is like jumping on platforms, avoiding the enemies, like collecting like elements and stuff like that. But there is like a unique mechanical twist to the game that you can rewind the time. So like if you fail to jump to another platform, you can rewind the time and try to jump again, jump higher, jump faster, make a longer run before you jump so that you can reach there. And the game is all about this like fine-tuning your every move to get where you get. So yeah, this is it has like a very direct Super Mario reference. So like this guy is like searching for his princess, and like the princess is of course in another castle. But unlike Super Mario, it's like not using this damsel in distress trope naively. It's more like taking it as a point of critique. Because here, like the game mechanics itself is about like putting you into very this perfectionist mode where you try to like perfect your every move, your every action, and it's very captivating like mechanically in how you do this. But then when you finally meet the princess, it turns out that she dumped you because you're a freaking perfectionist and she's fed with that. And this game acts as a like a critique of perfectionism, critique of this kind of like striving to like ignore everything else, and this like not like narrow-minded focus on like doing something like to an extreme. And what's like beautiful about this game intentionally puts you into this like perfectionism mental state, and then when it gets you into that state, it critiques, it like brings the critique, which like strikes way harder. And I'm not talking about like whether we want to agree or disagree with this critique. It's just like as an effect, it strikes way harder after you already got in this state, rather than if you were reading just a like abstract, detached critique of perfectionist in some paper or something like that. And so this uses like a game mechanics rather than narrative to like increase this effect of perfectionism. And there are quite a lot of like academic books that like talk about pretty much exactly the same topic, but here they don't really talk about this kind of like they create an experience of like how perfectionism can be problematic. Um, This is another game, even more recent one, and even less well known. I don't really expect that anybody played that, but if somebody who played it, please show a hand, and it's like, yay, somebody plays these weird small games. Because this game is like way less well known, but it's still a fantastic game. It's called Bokura. Bokura is a Japanese word for us, and this is a two-player game. It's also a puzzle platformer. And this game talks about what does it mean to be different human beings and to be different human beings in the same world. So basically, in this game, you play as one of the characters, and you navigate the world. You jump over on the platforms. You like solve puzzles and so on. But you and your partner should play on different devices and in different rooms. And in some times, you are even asked like, don't talk to each other during this situation. So that the critical point of this game is that you shouldn't see what other person is seeing, because what is seen is very different from what you are seeing. And the cool part of it is pragmatically, especially at the beginning, it is exactly the same. So you see like you have like this same like wood blocks of the same height, so you can both jump on it. They both have like the door, the window, so you kind of feel that you navigate the same world, but the feeling of this world is completely different. For example, a person like first player sees the picture on the top, the second player sees the picture on the bottom, and the first player says, "Oh, let's get in this fancy house." And the person like, "I'm not sure I want to get there." And the first person will be like sincerely surprised, like, "Why? Like, why would you hesitate to go into this like beautiful house?" Because well, the house and the for the second player is not has like completely different emotional meaning. And this game is all about this thing that it doesn't say directly, but it pretty much creates this experience how we all live in the same pragmatically shared reality, but on an like existential experiential level, we all live in our own worlds. And this game kind of highlights this idea. So you can ask a person, "Oh, can you go there? Can you do this? Can you stand there?" And they will do it because they see what they need to do to achieve that. Uh, but it feels completely different for them. And like what they particularly do in this game, they also at some point the game starts to diverge a bit, so that some things that you ask them to do, they don't do because they don't have it there. But you don't know it because before that, for like a few hours of playing this game, you were 100% sure that you are playing exactly the same game. But the game like starts slowly to diverge, and this kind of like creates a feeling of like almost like a schizophrenic feeling. Of like, are we playing the same game? Like, are we seeing the same picture? Because initially you think you see the same picture, and that like the point of the game, you shouldn't know that they see a different picture. So this is, and this topic is like very popular in anthropology or in some like philosophical branches about like ontology, how like we live in a pragmatically shared reality, but in a experientially very different realities. And what do we make out of it? And like this game, I think demonstrated like way better than like any text can demonstrate because it actually creates this experience of like highlighted differences in reality despite it's like being pragmatically shared. This is another cool game. Maybe somebody played this game. This is a console game, also about like 15, 20 years old. Uh, that's funny. How like last time I read this lecture was for university students, and most of them didn't play these games because those games are too old for them. It's like audience dependent thing. But that's kind of like the games like people of my age like played a lot. It's like 10, 15 years ago. So this game was initially PlayStation 4, I believe, exclusive. So it's also a puzzle platformer, which is funny because I personally don't like puzzle platformer games, but like the games I choose here, they just like do their job so good. So I ended up showing them here. So in this game, you play as this character as a boy who got into like the uh, some mystical temple and trying to get out, and you have this creature, like this giant beast that is like partially, I don't know, like a cat, griffon, like something else, like magical beast, and he is called Trico. And in the game, you directly control the boy with like a joystick, like left up, down, like jump and stuff like that. And you indirectly control Trico by asking him to do certain things. So like that's how it looks from the game perspective. So like you are this boy and there's like a giant monster over there, and it looks at you and you say, "Hey, come here," or "Hey, look there," "Hey, jump over there," and often it just comes to you and stares at you and like I have no idea what you want me to do, uh, but sometimes it does, and this kind of like creates this indirect control of the creature. And although like this game is pretty legendary, like it has a lot of people who are very critical, and this is like one of the most popular comments that you can get when you get on like Metacritic or other websites is like, what the hell? That's an extremely bad game. Wow, Trika is so annoying because he's not doing what you want to do. It's like a very popular critique of the game. And like when I read this, like I laughed out loud because like, have you ever had a dog or a cat? Or did you ever talk to a human being? Like other things that are alive, they don't do exactly what you ask them to do. And although this game is like very old, it's like way before AI and stuff like that. So it doesn't have like a very elaborate like AI system in it. It creates a feeling that this creature is alive, and the way it creates this feeling is through imperfect communication because it doesn't do what you want. It kind of is confused, it's like very erratic, and it's erratic in the same way like if you ever try to teach your dog a new trick and it's like, huh, like what like what do you want from me, just give me the treat already. So like this is kind of like a similar interaction you have there, and just having like imperfect control, which is like counterintuitive for many game designers, because like when you design a game you want to make it like usually for commercial games, like to make it a very controllable, very predictable, very smooth. But actually, sometimes you can use specifically imperfect control and erratic behavior to create an illusion of character in the game being alive. And here, like I've never played a game where the character feels as alive as this monster is, and that's exactly because it's not doing what you want it to do. And you get angry at it, and it's like a very honest angry, as like you forget that it's just like a stupid few lines in the code that like you shouldn't be angry on those few lines in the code. It's not a living being or something, but it's like so persuasive in making this illusion of living being through like not aligning with what you want to do. So that's kind of like what like my argument lies in academia, and what I'm like slightly teaching and pursuing. And now I'll quickly go over what I'm doing myself. So yeah, we're already half an hour through, so I'll go slightly fast on this part. So I took a like 2 years ago, I took a year off my PhD to learn doing video games because I decided that I want to do my thesis as a video game. And before that, I didn't have like pretty much any game making experience, except that like I had a very limited programming experience, not like real programming, more like scripting and mathematics, uh, and a lot of playing experience. So this is the project that I plan to do as my PhD. It's called the Gaijin Card, and it's an ethnographic deck builder about immigrant experience in Japan. And I won't go too deep into the topic, but basically I'm studying Russian-speaking immigrants in Japan, and uh, there is a popular trope in Japan that's called to play a Gaijin card. And to play a Gaijin card pretty much means to act like an asshole, hoping that you will be forgiven because you're a foreigner. And the funny thing about the Gaijin card that it really depends on who plays it. So if you're like a white American male and you play a Gaijin card, it's super powerful. Like you will be forgiven for almost anything. If you're like a Chinese student playing a Gaijin card, you will probably punished for even trying to do so. Because Japanese people expect that if you're Chinese, that you will abide by the rules. But if you speak perfect English, then you can still get some leverage of it. If you're Russian, it depends on how well you speak English. If your English is good, your Gaijin card is much stronger. If your English is not that good, your Gaijin card is much weaker. So having this trope already existed in reality, like I've seen people saying literally, "Oh, let me play the Gaijin card here," which means pretend that I don't know what the customs here and try to get away with that. Like having this already as a trope among immigrants, I decided, oh, I can make a deck builder card game about it, where you go through a different situation of immigrating to Japan. And when you start the game, you choose whom you play as, like your gender, your race, your like educational background, and like some other aspects. And when you play cards, those cards will have different effects based on who you are. And the point of the game is not like to win it or like to get the highest score, but to experience that like though you feel like you're playing the same game, actually every time you like start as like a different character, you kind of do the same movements, but the results are different. So kind of like to make a statement that everybody is playing their own game in a way. So that's my PhD project. It's in a very uh, like early stages yet, but that's the idea. So like 2 years ago, like not 2 years, year and a half ago. So I took a year off my PhD to start learning doing video games. I have been using Godot Engine. That's a cool engine that I personally like a lot. It's an open source and very close to Python, if anybody knows like the technical aspects. This was like the first game, but like I'll be slightly going faster through this because of the time. So this was my first game, which I was experimenting with, and the idea in this game is to combine as many dopamine trap games in one game, and make it a story with a critique of dopamine trap games there. So here you start the game like a level as a minesweeper, then it transfers into match 3 game. Then when you reach certain condition, it transforms it like 2084 or Sudoku or Sokoban and more. So like each game, after you reach certain stage, converts on a different game and like keeps you in this loop. So like this was initially planned as just like for me a learning experience, but I haven't finished this game yet, but I do intend to finish that because I have a very cool idea about the story about this game. Then after a few months, I started going for game jams. Anybody knows what game jam is? Nobody. So Game Jam is an event. Like right now, there are like thousands of them. But basically, the name comes from music jams, where a lot of musicians like come together and they just jam some music together. And here, Game Jam is the idea that a lot of game developers come to the same place, usually virtual place, sometimes physical place, and then there is a topic disclosed, and then people produce a game in a very limited time. So after studying like doing games for a few months, I decided I want to go for this to just like put my whatever I learned, which was very limited, into practice rather than just studying by myself. So I joined Godot Wild Jam. So it goes like with one topic, three optional subtopics, and 9 days. So you have 9 days. You can team up with other people, and you make game in 9 days. So that was like the first game jam I participated on had the topic of reflection. And I made this game with the help of a few friends, which is a laser game, which some people might know. There's like a board game with lasers where you have like mirrors, you rotate mirrors, lasers like shoot, and you like try to manipulate mirrors to switch it out. But I won't get into too much details, just to show what I've done. Then I joined another, like next month, they're going like every month. Next month, I joined another game jam. The topic was freeze, and I made this game which was like a rhythm game, but in a house where everything is freezing. And it became like a very hard game. People really liked playing it, but it was too hard. And I was surprised that like despite being like a complete novice, like with like 2 months experience in game development, I got in like top 15% of all submissions in both cases. So I decided, okay, looks like I have something for that. So then there was like my third attempt, the game called Final Form. The topic for this jam was metamorphosis. And as an avid reader, I decided, okay, that's a great chance to combine it with Kafka novel Metamorphosis. So I found the audiobook, which is in public domain, and embedded in the game. So while players were playing the game, they were also listening to Kafka's Metamorphosis, which was kind of like a joke and a little bit absurd, but that was my plan. So it was more like a strategy game. Where you move around, you terraform the land, and you change shapes. Uh, and this game was at that moment by far got the best reception. And this game was my first attempt at making the game completely alone. So I did absolutely everything alone, including like mostly in games, my role is game design and programming. Here I was also drawing everything and pretty much did everything except the soundtrack. I took the soundtrack, but everything else I did myself. And this game, despite very ugly visuals, this was my first attempt at drawing something myself. It got into top, like it ended up on the ninth spot out of 160 games, which was like for me, who's like less than half a year in doing games, was like, yay, very good result. So I started working to like I decided that I want to make this game a full game, like a commercial product. So I teamed up with an artist. So that's where we are at now on like planning to bring it in a more fancy with more complexion and so on. So this is the game, but we also got a legal strike that somebody already registered the name Final Form, so we had to change the name to Tetraform, which is very surprising because there is no game, but somebody just like registered the trademark that someday they will make a game with this name. Disgusting, but that's the world we live in. So. Uh, this is another game I've made. This is like the one that I'm particularly proud of, and that's the last one that I will show before going to my current game. So was for Global Game Jam. The topic was bubble, and this was particularly harsh. It was like 48 hours. So you get a topic, and you have 48 hours to make a game out of nothing. And we made the name for the game Mpop, and that's how it looked like. So it was physically on in Humber College. So me and my friend who is programmer, we just went to Humber College and uh, teamed up with two random students we met there. So they were drawing and making music, and we did everything else. Uh, and here's how the game looks like. And if anybody wants to check all the games that I'm talking about, they're all available for play at rakudajin.itch.io. Itch.io is like the most popular place for like non-professional games online. So I'll just like show the video of the game without sound and slightly talk over it. But this is a game I'm personally, I would say, the most proud of. Because quite a lot of people told me that they were crying while playing this game, and what can be better than make other people cry when they play your games, right? So this is how the game works. So you're the bubble. You're in this world as a blank state double rasa, and you move with arrows. It's like very simple. Again, we did it just in 48 hours. And there are other bubbles here. And the green bubbles, they spread joy. And if their aura touches you, you get colored in green. There are like red bubbles that are colored with red, and they spread red. And if they aura touch you, you get more red. And that means you get more angry as well. And there is like blue bubbles, they spread sadness. So if they touch you, they color you in a blue color. So this game like starts like this. This is a tutorial. Unfortunately, we didn't have a good method to combine all three colors. So when you have three all combined, you ended just being gray. And like we plan to make a more elaborate way to display this. But basically, the idea is to make it a very simplistic life simulator, uh, where basically you move around. Like at the bottom left is your home, where you like eat food. In the bottom left, you get entertainment. In the top right, you get education, and late in life, you get like money there. It becomes like from school to work. And in the bottom right, you have like friend's house where you get like some social like interactions. And each of them, they are inhabited with different bubbles with different colors. And you kind of try to succeed in this life, getting like education, also keeping like fed and entertained, getting like some social connection and so on. And you want to avoid interaction with angry people and maybe also not too many sad people, and try to stick around with more joyful people. But it's not always that easy. And as life progresses, like especially when it gets to the stage of work, you get like more sad and angry people at work. You get at home at like later stage, you also get a child and a dog. And starting with teenagehood, you also start to emit your own color, and that color depends on what colors you've been affected to. So that's kind of like what you like receive during like early ages. The more you spread it, and the older you get in life, the less you get affected by others spreading their emotions on you, and the more you start in affecting others by the emotion that were built in you through your lifetime. So this is like a very simplistic game, very simplistic mechanics. Like the most popular comment I get this is like, oh, I ended up being very angry and sad, just like real life, 10 out of 10, very realistic. Or some people said that this game made them cry and reflect on their life and like why are they so angry in life and so on. But again, this game has almost like no text. We don't preach anything. We don't tell people what's a good life and how to live. Just by implementing the simple mechanic that like whatever you get affected with, then you start spreading this. It like made people reflect like, what am I doing with my life? And that's kind of what I'm trying to do in video games without like using like direct narrative methods and like trying to preach what's right and what's wrong. It's like trying to design a system where people would create certain experiences, and those experiences let them reflect on their lives. So, and now then to the final part for the current game that we are currently working on. So it was also made for another game jam initially. It was done in 72 hours. The theme was loop, and we made the game called Imagine Sisyphus Happy. And like there were like 9,800 entries in the game jam. It's like one of the biggest in the world. We ended up like with this ranking, which made us in approximately top 3% in overall ranking, which was very funny because we almost don't have any text in the game, but we had like in a top 2% in narrative. So people liked our narrative, although we didn't really have narrative. So I'll like after making this game for a game jam, I've seen that we receive a lot of feedback and people were excited about the game. So we decided to put it as a commercial game. We're still working on it, but I've made a trailer for this game. That was like the first trailer I've ever made in my life, and it went viral. I just put it on my own channel first, and my channel was like 12 subscribers, and like this video got like more than 100,000 views just because like people liked and shared it and algorithms liked it. So I'll just play it now. It's with sound. I hope it's not too loud. If too loud, please change your sound, or I can change mine. But probably easier that everybody changes whatever they prefer. This is So in this game, it's a very simple in genre, and again, like this trailer is based on the game that we've made in 72 hours. So it's like a very simple, very shallow, very minimalistic. Uh, so the idea here is that Sisyphus decides to become a live streamer as a way to find joy in life. And we have like two angles on that. One is more like satiric or ironic in a sense that it's kind of like ridiculous, and a lot of people find it as ridiculous. Uh, it's kind of like can be seen as like a critical commentary on our like exhibitionist society where everybody is like trying to put everything they do online on like social media and stuff like that. So that's what like one more like satirical and dark angle. More light angle can be seen is that like this is a life, this is a world we are living in. We cannot just ignore it, and that's our reality. So we might as well try to find joy in this reality. And that kind of like makes it a reference to Albert Camus. And anybody here read Myth of Sisyphus of Albert Camus, or at least like knows what it is about? Okay, so Albert Camus is like a French philosopher, like one of the like he and Sartre are considered like the cool. He and Sartre are considered like the fathers of existentialism, and he is also considered the father of absurdism. And basically, the main claim he is making is that life is meaningless for a very simple reason. You die, and after you die, everything you did is like doesn't matter anymore because you don't exist anymore. So for you, it doesn't matter. This makes the life itself an absurd thing, and that like he claims, and many people take this as too literally, and I think that's a wrong interpretation. But basically, he says that the only rational thing to do in life is suicide, but he doesn't make it as an argument that we all should kill ourselves. No, he makes it as an argument that we shouldn't try to be rational in life because ultimately there is no like anything more rational than suicide. Therefore, rationality is not exactly what our life should be all about. That's kind of his argument, and he compares the life with a Sisyphus who is like pushing his boulder uphill without ever chance to succeed. And like with us being mortals, that's exactly what our life is. And the only thing that we actually can do in life is find a way to imagine Sisyphus happy. Because if we manage to imagine Sisyphus happy, we can imagine ourselves happy. We can find a way to find joy in our like meaningless lives. And instead of like trying to find meaning, we should find joy. And he doesn't make it in a like shallow way about like I don't know like hedonism or something. He talks like about like deeper stuff about moderation, about many other things. So, but basically that's kind of like his main argument. And we took like this kind of like ironic interpretation of that of like, okay, we can as well like make a streaming as a way of like bringing joy in our lives. And as I said, this got extreme high like response. Because like when we put it on Steam, we were hoping, oh, maybe like I don't know, like a few hundred people will buy our game and we will be happy with that. But then after we put this and get like 100,000 views, and like more than like 1,000 people like wishlisting our game and like hoping for it to develop more. We are right now getting deeper into it. So, sorry, the controls. Uh, yeah, so we have a Steam page. If somebody wants to wishlist us, like we all would be happy, but yeah, so that's what we are doing. We got a lot of comments there. Like a lot of people recognized the meta message about like everybody being a Sisyphus, and this our attempt to connect with the people through the game. They're asking like, "Chat, are we rolling the boulder the right way?" And I replied like, "Is there a right way? Like as long as you're rolling the boulder, it's the right way." Uh, like some people recognize this kind of like meta idea of how in one part of the trailer we were seeing like even like streaming this game would be like the same as playing this game, or even watching somebody playing this game would be the same as playing this game. It's kind of like a angle for meta narrative here. A very unexpected thing, and I will slightly go more into this like in off record part. A lot of people have seen like reference to Northern Lion, and like I've never heard about this, but this is like the most sticky reference we get from the comments. And Northern Lion is the Canadian streamer who is like one of the biggest streamers in the world with like 8 million subscribers. And I'll talk more about this, but a lot of people say that this game is a tribute to him. And like honestly, I never heard about this guy before making this game, but we are like looking into this because like if he streams our game, that will make like a huge commercial success for our game. Uh, so after publishing the trailer, I also was doing more for art rather than for actually like measurable results. I was engaging in Sisyphean marketing, so I was making short videos with like Sisyphus pushing the boulder and with a chat here, having some like funny stories going around. And I posted one video a day for like 45 days, and it didn't really work. Like on average we had like 2,000 views per video, which it was not worth like marketing wise the time I've put in creating those videos. But it was, I decided like I'll do, it's like a Sisyphean, this is my Sisyphean boulder. I'll push a video a day for 2 months. I gave up after a month and a half though, but that was kind of like a funny experience. And then we are working on making this game into a bigger one, and that's like almost the end of it. I'll show our new trailer, which was featured by IGN. This is like the biggest like YouTube channel for game trailers, and usually the videos there get about like 10, 20, 30,000 views, and we are at 370,000 now. And also, we didn't expect that, and they didn't expect that. When we approached them, hey, can you post our trailer? And they said, like, ah, no, we don't post this kind of stuff. So like, no, please do post. And then they posted it, and then they wrote us, oh, we do, like, we were wrong. We didn't expect that. So this is our trailer. Went even more viral than the previous one, and this shows where our game is right now, but we are still working on it.
Craving Thai, but think it's too
Sorry,
hard?
advertisement.
Not anymore. Blue Dragon sauces make it easy and delicious.
Why do you put it here? Yeah, so this is our new trailer. We slightly changed the vibe of it, like to be even more chill and being like content with life and like infinite struggle of life. We had like more mini games and stuff like that. And so that's where we are. So yeah, we have like 364,000 views like yesterday. Today we got like almost 370,000, 11,000 likes. That's like absolutely above like anything we were expecting. Like we updated like our Steam page, and again we have like people recognizing our like joke about content creation and streaming. Like people saying that this is an accurate portrayal of content creation. Grinned. Some people recognize the story. about how this feels as like this is how Sisyphean should be. He shouldn't be just like doing nothing. He should find a way to find joy in his struggle. And some people again like citing Northern Line, and like one comment like citing Northern Line, they got like 1,500 likes just for that, which is like very weird for us, especially since we didn't know who Northern Line was before, like when we just started making this. And some people, which is like for me personally, the best part, they say that like Absurdism classic, Albert Camus. So people recognize reference to Camus, they like it. And this is like for me the coolest part, because when I posted our trailer on Reddit in Absurdism, I was banned there because people said that like, oh, this has nothing to do with Albert Camus, because Albert Camus is all about suicide, not about this silly stuff. And like I said, like, no, guys, you don't know what Albert Camus is about. So I strongly disagree with them. And that will be in the part I will tell off record, but like I have some reason to believe I'm more right than they are in understanding what Albert Camus is about. Uh, this is just like a slideshow of like this is our like wish list. So this is when we posted our first trailer. This is when like IGN posted our trailer, and like we are right now at almost like 7,000 wish lists, which is considered like the minimum you need to get to become like commercially successful with your game. And again, like it's like relative, but when we started, we hoped to get like maybe a few hundred wish lists, and now we're like at 7,000, and we haven't even got close to finishing the game, and we're still working on it. And then the next few portions, no, next I want to share like some our more things that is going to do, that is something I'm happy to share publicly. Is one is we are planning to do Twitch integration, and this is like our coolest way to break the fourth wall in our game. So Twitch is the most popular platform for game streaming, where people play games and other people watch them playing games, which is like a crazy big industry. Like Northern Lion, whom I mentioned, I have like 8 million people subscribe for him to watch how he plays video games. So we want to make a Twitch integration where people can actually, no, this is how like Twitch looks like, where they can actually play with their own audience. So like going back to like our game screen. So in our game, we have this kind of simulated chat, which is right now just like simulated by the code I wrote. But with Twitch integration, streamers could actually connect this module to their own Twitch, so that actually people who watch them play and can actually send messages that will directly appear in the game. And the way the game is designed, it's not just about like flavor, getting text there. They can actually affect the game, demand doing certain tricks, or making this kind of like fake donation subscriptions and so on inside the game. So it will turn the game from a single player to like a collective multiplayer game, where a streamer plays with their own audience, and the audience affect the way the streamer plays the game. So we're kind of like trying to break the fourth wall here. And actually, we are doing this live in 2 weeks from now. There will be Toronto Game Expo. We already have like a banner printed for this, and these are the dates. So it will be here and at this time. And we were selected for the, they called it like highlight squad, like the best 4 indie games that are showcasing there, get like more highlighting and like attention. And we plan to make a collective play there, so that everybody who passes by can actually grab their own mobile phone, scan the QR code, and send the messages that will appear in the game, to make this like event as a collective game act, almost like as a performative art act of like massively people on exhibition playing together through their phones, rather than like just one person at a time. We are also like right now pivoting the game to get more narrative. Right now it has like no narrative, and we plan to make some discoverable stories, so that like you will have some excerpts from, I don't know, ancient Greek philosophy like Plato and Aristotle, or like ancient Greek myth, to some like contemporary urban legends. So we kind of like trying to connect a more like classical thought with contemporary like memes and urban legends and stuff like that, and make a mixture of them. Also plan to add like some Japanese koans to like reflect on some topics and stuff like that, and to turn the game more into typing, so the typing will play a more crucial role in how the game evolves. And that's pretty much it for the on-record part. And now I will ask to pause the record because I want to share. I'm happy to answer to answer any question except for the topics raised in the off-record part.
So questions are welcome. Just raise your hand. Or if there's nobody with a raised hand, you just can speak. Elka.
Yeah, I'm just curious, in terms of actual time, because you have your life to lead, and this is one of the things that you are doing. Like roughly how much time and how much money is involved in getting you to where you are now?
If we count money as like raw money, not my time that I spend on it that I could otherwise spend earning money, then my total budget is like right now a little bit below $4,000. And that's mostly because most of the people involved in the project work for like, it's called like a profit share models. So we all have shares in how much we will make with this game. But this game was initially made for a game jam, which was like in 72 hours for free. So everybody like started on enthusiasm. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, that's more like how the industry works. Like some people still wanted to be paid for their work and gave up some of the share for paid work, so I pay them. But mostly it's just like profit share. And time-wise, if we combine all the time spent by all people on the team, but again, it's for everybody on the team. It's for at least most of us on the team. It's our first like real game, like the commercial, like big full game. Commercial. When we say commercial game, we don't mean like necessarily sold for money, but more like not a pet project, but actually seriously making a game. It's the first attempt for most of us. So altogether, I would say we spend around maybe like 2,000 hours. And more than half of that is my hours.
Yeah. Yeah, so that yes, that would be a lot if you had to hire someone to do the work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so your personal biggest cost is going to be marketing then, right?
Yeah, like I don't I don't count my time as a cost, but I'm the major shareholder.
Mhm.
So like if it gets commercially successful, I get my money back. But we also were approached by a few publishers who wanted to buy off like our share for money, and like we reject them, but because we are doing it not for money, but for art, so to say. Although like I still hope to get it sustainable.
So just one last thing, and then I'll shut up. If someone like really likes your stuff and wants to hire you to work for their company, would you consider doing that?
Depending on for what. Right now, no, I won't say that on record. Maybe ask to go off record later again. I can comment a bit more. But basically, on a personal level, like there are a few studios that if they would offer me a job at those studios that I would accept. But like the like if I were offered a job in a like AAA game studio, like I would definitely reject. So I'm not interested in that. But like I also have like ideas for at least 10 more games. So I'm like my goal is like to find resources to make the games I want to make, and this is like I'm on the list for the lack of better word, serious games I want to make, and yeah. Like my idea is like, yeah, I need to get it sustainable for myself, especially how like PhD is not really sustainable economically. And other than that, like, yeah, I'm more interested like in bringing my ideas to life through games rather than in a commercial side.
Thank you. And Ingun. Ingan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, there's some problem with trying to unmute for some reason.
I'm trying to unmute myself. There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
My app had all the kinds of ideas about what to do before it would grant me the permission to speak. But this is basically from a thought that came to my mind as I was listening to you, because you just to recuperate, you talked about game mechanics as, being like the language, your main entry point, and then you talked about the game that had with the cards that had like character as one important parameter going in to the game, what kind of person you were sort of playing going in, but what came to my mind was the sort of cinematography of the whole game, like that is, like when you go to a movie and you, in a split second, as the first scene starts to play out, you sort of get the tone of the whole movie, like the pacing, the landscape, maybe there's a score, but there's a color combination often is selected right there. And these things for sure will affect people's mood, and then they will affect, the kind of judgments they make, the choices they make. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have you spent time sort of reflecting on your choices? For example, Sisyphus being happy on the good day with sunshine and the beach and all kinds of things. It would have been different if he was in a different place, right? Or if he was pushing car wreck instead of a boulder. These kinds of things. Do you have thoughts?
We actually will. Yeah, absolutely. I'll start with from the end because it's like easier, particularly for Sisyphus. Like our plan is to have more than like 20, probably closer to 30 different contexts and different boulders. And that's kind of like the idea, including like a car wreck or like a baby stroller and or like many other contexts. Like an idea is to represent different chores or jobs that people have in contemporary life. So we will definitely have that, and visual part is absolutely part of it. I personally am less into that, and I'm very happy that we have two cool designers who do that stuff. I'm more into the like cognitive conceptual and like part. So I 100% agree with all you say and like how this is important. I personally am less engaging with that as a choice rather than as a statement that is less important. Just as I told about like different languages, like this like audio-visual part is absolutely the part of producing the effect. But again, because it's shared with movies, like with cinematography, it's a less of personal interest to me because games, it's like not unique to games. While game mechanics is unique to games, that's where I focus on like what can we do with games that we cannot do with something else. So that's where I go with my focus. And if I can do both, I'm happy to do both. Like probably not through me, but having like cool artists who like work with me. But that's a question of like money and resources and expertise and stuff like that. But I totally agree that it's cool, important, and can be used. And if I manage to get, but that's like, and like I'm personally right now questioning whether I want to make my Gaijin Card project as my PhD project or as a commercial game, because as a PhD project, like I won't have any financial resources and I won't be allowed to sell the game or anything like that. And there is so little thing I can do myself. And if I go pursue it this way, it will be like solely focused on the like game mechanics aspect, because that's what I can do and that's what I like me. Like me myself is enough to do that. And for other things, I will have to get other people that I won't have resources to get. But if I do it as a commercial game, especially if like Sisyphus manages to be a commercial successful game, it will be way easier for me to find like visual artists, like musical artists who will help me with reproducing those aspects as well. So yeah,
Thank
if
you.
I can make them, yeah, I would definitely would make them. For me, they are secondary, not because they are secondary, but because of what I do.
Yeah, you have limited resources. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Igor, I enjoyed your reference to Godot, because I'm sure you're referring back to Samuel Beckett. Samuel Beckett wrote Waiting for Godot. And
yeah,
I went to see the play, and they start off with the stage was all beige. The characters were made up all beige with beige clothing. They were in garbage cans with the lids closed at the beginning. So you're just staring at this scenario with the garbage cans, and then the garbage can lids come off, and the characters start to climb out of the garbage cans. But all they're saying is, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. What are you waiting for? I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And the woman in the audience next to me got really angry, finally, and stomped out. She thought this was a total waste of time. And I thought that was hilariously funny that she would get so angry. And then it turned out that the creator of the show that was based on Waiting for Godot was sitting beside me. And so I'd said, I realized that, and I said something about, this is great, you're getting a great audience reaction. She said, oh, like what? And I said, oh, this woman got really angry and left. And she didn't think that was funny at all. She didn't mean for that to happen.
yeah, well, actually, like I personally haven't read that, and so like the Godot I was referenced is a different Godot. So Godot is a game engine.
Okay.
But this game engine is named after this.
After Samuel
thing.
Beckett.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, there is a programming language Python, and a lot of people think that it's actually named after a snake, but it's actually named after Monty Python. Here the engine Godot is, for some reason, I have something wrong going on with Zoom. I wasn't.
We can hear you all right.
You don't see my screen anymore, right?
I see your slide that says on record.
Yeah, that's kind of. I clicked stop share, but now the Zoom. Can I leave and come back again? Or that? Yeah. I just like Zoom froze for me, but I can still see and hear you. It's just like I cannot press anything for some reason, which
Did
is
you
weird.
want to show it? Were you wanting to show us something else, or?
Yeah, it's like not super important. It's just like funny because like you've mentioned this. So like Godot is a game engine. This is open source game engine that I'm using for my games, and this is like one of the simplest and most community oriented in a good way engine, because it's like free for use, open source. Anybody can use anybody can do anything with this. It's like it's not one of the biggest, but it's grew to get the third biggest engine, and it's kind of like people who work in Godot like Godot so much that it's almost a cultural thing that people include references to game engine inside the games. No other games made in Unity or Unreal Engine, which is like the top two engines, they never reference Unity or Unreal Engine, because Unity and Unreal Engine they charge you money for making game and the engine and so on. So it's kind of more like a commercial relationship. But in Godot, because it's free and it's very community based, like people.
I've lost you now. Just a minute. Hey, we've lost Igor. Have to wait for Igor to come back. Hey, Igor, we're waiting for you to come back, if you can hear me.
Until he comes back, Kathleen, I'd like to thank you again for all the work that you do on this series and arranging all this and hosting, and it's much appreciated. Wanted
Thank
to
you.
say thanks, not just in a personal email to you, as I may have done before, but in front of some of the other people who joined today and appreciate your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you, Ron. That's really wonderful to hear you say that. Here's Igor back again. Igor, can you hear me? Igor? I've admitted him. It takes a minute to come in.
Yeah.
He's
Sorry,
muted,
I'm not
yeah.
sure. I'm not sure at which point I disconnected. It's just like at some point, Zoom just completely froze.
Okay. It's not freezing anymore though, right?
Yeah. Now it's good.
Okay, good.
Did you hear my like reference to like waiting for Godot in the comments?
Well,
Yeah.
I talked about Waiting for Godot, and you said it's not based on Waiting for Godot. It's based on the Godot engine.
Yeah, but like what I was saying in the last part, we got because we have a reference to Godot engine inside the game. We have a place where Sisyphus is pushing Godot engine icon.
Okay.
And there is a comment on YouTube which got like 400 likes that says, "That's why we are waiting for Godot. Sisyphus is pushing it." It's kind of like crazy. It's like funny cross
Oh,
reference.
okay. Okay, I get it. Okay. Ron, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Igor something. Igor, thank you for talking to our group. I know most of us are a decade or more older than you, so some of our questions may seem kind of funny. The one I'd like you to comment on is what I've seen as a person just as an outsider to all these games and grew up before they existed. Um, as an example, sports. Kids used to go out and play hockey. Then people started watching hockey. Then we built great arenas for people to watch professional hockey, and then out of that came some computer games. Games like hockey computer games, and then so
Mhm.
instead of playing hockey or instead of watching a real hockey game, they would play, or they still do. They're very popular, these computer games. And then there's enough people doing that the whole esport thing that people wanted to watch people playing computer games. So we've kind of gone from watching real or participating in real hockey. Then we're participating and playing a game. Now we're just watching others play a computer game. It just seems like an interesting trend that I can't fathom why we're building great now coliseums for people to watch people play computer games.
Yeah, I totally get what you say. Like, I don't have a very strong opinion on that, but I would say that it's slightly like, first of all, yes, there are like a few problematic things and few things that I don't consider problematic, but it's like less like more me as an anthropologist speaking rather than me a game maker speaking. So one thing is that yes, we getting less physically engaged with reality and more engaged like informationally, digitally, and there is a lot of problematic things. There are some good things about it because like again, not saying that this alone is a good enough thing, but there's like a very popular old topic about like violence in video games, how violence of video games actually increases violence in reality, but all research actually shows the opposite. Basically, having violence in video games makes people less going outside and do violence in reality. Is it good enough? Well, but there is a good and bad side to that. The only thing that I would say, like slightly in defense, but again, it's not in a full defense of that, is that it's not exactly the same people who like watching and who like doing. And I would compare it with like, a lot of people can say that, oh my God, how our like writing skills like generationally degraded, like how much uneducated texts are right now available online compared to what was there available like 20 years ago, 40 years ago, before online time and so on, which is on the one hand, it's true, but I think it's less about people becoming worse at writing and more about the people who are uneducated. Before that, were not allowed to write. Now they are allowed to write. Is it a good thing? I would say rather yes than not, because it still improves the average level of education. But because it also increases the visibility of them, it makes it seem as if level of education has fallen. So I think with sports, it might be like slightly similar. Yeah, like there are so many people watching people playing games of an actual physical game, but would they really go play sports otherwise? Not quite sure. It's like I have a lot of friends who still do sports. And so, yeah.
Great,
It
thank
makes
you.
me think of Madame Bovary. Madame Bovary was a very ordinary woman, and she was the subject of a novel. Very ordinary woman, but the novel was written at a time when novels were written about kings and queens and important people.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah, I'm personally also very much, that's like one of the things that why I like games and like why I like what's going on with Sisyphus. For me personally, it's such a cool thing that we are like connecting this like streamer world, which is like a culturally uh not the bottom, but like not the cultural top, so to say, with like Camus Foundation and stuff like that, and like trying to like bridge the gap between them. That's something that I like doing, and that's personally like partially also because it's like personal relevant to me, because like I'm not from like a educated background, although like I'm right now doing like a PhD at University of Toronto. But when I first got into university, like my parents didn't have a higher education, so that's like I like bridging the gaps. I don't think there is a much value in like keeping elites educated and regular people ignorant about the stuff.
Can you give us an example or two about the types of strategies? You mentioned that you used novel types of strategies and moves in Imagine Sisyphus Happy.
Oh, to be honest, that's what you had in introduction. I don't remember that I said like this. I wasn't 100% sure what you meant by saying that, to be honest.
Okay, all right.
But like what we do like in our games and generally like our art, like we have in our small studio, we have two kinds of games that we are making. One are about meta narratives and like trying to like play with meanings, like with Sisyphus or the game with a bubble that I've shown. And the other type of games that we are doing are more like mechanical, strategic, like board game like. And that's the one that I've shown that is like final form, that like later changed into like tetra form. And that's just because like I'm a very big like board game fan, and I like combining mechanics of different board games. And that game combines like games like chess with like Onitama, with tile placement games like Carcassonne and stuff like that. But that game, it's not a Sisyphus, it's a different game, and it won't really get much attention until we release Sisyphus. But yeah, like I also like the game mechanics from like a board game perspective with like complexities and stuff like that. But that's not in Sisyphus, that's another project.
Okay. And Elka.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to express what I'm thinking and make it clear, because it's not very clear in my own mind. I'm 84 years old, so I was old when these games first really became popular, so I haven't done any. But what I see and what I have been exposed to from outside has been almost always violent things and winning and and things that I find disturbing. So I was interested to see, like, everything you showed was completely different. So for me, that was extremely informative. But I'm concerned about the people who spend all their time, literally all their time doing that. That's what they want to do all the time, and it's addictive. I have a friend who is in her early 50s, and she teaches high school. And she got involved, she got interested in video games last year, and she can't let them alone. I mean, she admits that it is addictive. She says she realized as she was doing it what was happening to her, and she couldn't stop it from happening. So I find that disturbing in itself. And I'm concerned with generations that are having an insufficient amount of real person interaction in terms of their socio-emotional development and what it's doing to our future society. So perhaps you could comment on some of that.
Yeah, sure. Like I have like lots of thoughts on all of this. Like for the first part about like violence and stuff, there's like in video game history, there's a thing that is called like new game movement, which was exactly about like going away from like violence and uh, like in general it's related to like our general discourse about like feminism and like toxic masculinity and stuff like that. And so like the video games, especially since in the beginning were mostly like targeted at the boys, boys in a very particular society. It's not that something wrong with games, it's more like what's wrong with our society, that we see that this kind of contact is the kind of contact we want to give to boys. So and like it's not only in video, it wasn't only in video games. If you watch it like at the most popular like blockbuster movies and so on, it's pretty much all the same. So that's kind of more like a reflective of society. So it's more like a reflective of society rather than video games had a very particular stance on that. But then again, like about like a decade or two ago, there was like a new game movement that like tried to refocus. Okay, can we make games more collaborative? Can we make games that are focused not on violence and stuff like that? So there is a change right now going on, but still a lot of games, probably half, maybe even more, they at least to some extent are competitive, violent, and so on. But I mean, like chess is also competitive, violent. It's just like you don't have like much graphics for that. But it's it's like it's not necessarily just that in itself, but it's nice to have other games as well. That's for sure. As for addictive, that's my personally particularly big topic that I'm engaged with, because that's the same topic as with drugs. I first of all, what I would say that yes, there is a certain way that you can make games more addictive by constructing certain dopamine loops, which are very similar to how you design like casino machines and stuff like that. And lately, and from my perspective, very unfortunately, more and more people from gambling getting into video games and making the games solely focused on being addictive and get people into this short dopamine traps, which are very rewarding in the moment, but very destructive for psyche in the long term. And I think it's bad. You cannot completely avoid this when you're working with game. You still need some like dopamine kind of like interaction. You can't avoid it in movies, you can't avoid it with this game, but I think it's very important for like responsible game designers to limit how much they get into that direction. It's like nice to attract attention, but not nice to like intentionally create addictions. That's one side. Another side, when we talk about this as a social problem, we should treat it as is in case with drugs. It's not the problem of thing as much as it's a problem of society. People who become addicted to video games, just like people who become addicted to drugs, it's in most cases is because of how they are socially isolated, or they live in a very unfriendly, unsupportive environment, and so on. And so far, most of the research shows that the best way to fight drug addiction is not by banning drugs, but creating like social networks to support those people. So like I would say the same could apply for like game addiction. And the last question was about generations and social isolation, which is partially part of this question, and I partially agree. But on the other hand, I also think, and I think it's harder to get people of older generation, but I think that online sociality is still sociality. And although a lot of it is problematic and abusive, but a lot of real-time, like face-to-face interaction also is problematic and abusive at times. And I know a lot of people, myself included, who would not survive in the social environments they were if they didn't have online environment to socialize in. So for me, when I was 15, I was in a very abusive and oppressive context, and having opportunity to talk with random people online was my escape, and something that allowed me to survive through my very there's some hardships of my young adulthood. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's also
Just
sociality.
apropos this, the idea of addiction and where we use the word. I'm thinking specifically of a friend I have who, very, very bright woman, but she spends, except for the time that she spends interacting with friends and and family, she spends all her time reading. She only reads novels, but we don't say she's addicted to that. She doesn't do anything else. She doesn't paint. She doesn't write. She doesn't go for a walk. She does nothing else, except read novels. But we don't say she's addicted to novels.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
honestly,
just an observation.
yeah, and I don't think that novels are that much better in this regard. So it's still like isolationism, and there is again slightly taking putting on my anthropologist hat. There is when we talk about drugs and drug usage in, for example, indigenous people, especially in South America. There is a lot of tropes about how they are more prone to get alcohol addiction, but they actually are less prone to develop cocaine addiction than Western people. But Western people then came and they banned cocaine but allowed for alcohol. And in the Western tradition, we have ways to manage the alcohol addiction, but we weren't prepared to deal with cocaine addiction. But for them, it was the reverse. They had cultural ways to deal with cocaine addiction, and they didn't have ways to deal with alcohol addiction. And that this ended up with a trope, oh, they can't drink, but actually it's the same situation in reverse. We just pushed our rules of consumption on them, but they have had a different rules, cultural tropes of consumption, problematic or dangerous substances.
Yeah. In fact, an addict is an addict is an addict. And if you take away one substance, then they'll turn to a different one. I'm going to call on Matty next because he hasn't had a chance to speak yet.
Hello. Yeah, I'm
Hello.
here outdoors, standing on a jetty next to a sauna and a lake, which is behind me, but you can't really see it because it's pitch black already. Yeah, we had a kind of a Mensa volunteer weekend, first day today, and tomorrow it will continue.
And Matty,
Anyway,
you're in Finland, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, nice seeing you. I've seen you a lot on Facebook, never seen in person.
Well, now I will walk towards the sauna a little bit so you can see my face better. There's some lamp here. Anyway, so yeah, I want to say that thanks. This was very highbrow discussion with Beckett and Camus and all the cultural references, and it was very enlightening. I have never thought about game designing in this perspective. I love games. Maybe I'm a little bit addicted to some types of them. From this kind of puzzle or casual games, I would say Chant of Sennar is one of my recent favorites. I've kind of discovered it. I just probably am the only one who has a Steam account in this group, and I put your game on a wish list.
Thank you.
So at least a little bit of help. Anyway, I didn't really have a question other than pertaining to completely mundane thing, which is the graphics that, yeah, I understand for that short period, the idea is what counts, but do you plan on stepping from this kind of retro design thing with the pixel graphics into something more detailed, or do you think it will be enough for the game for the that the idea sustains it completely? I know this is a genre that you have this type of a visual appearance. This one popular ones recently.
Yeah, for Sisyphus, we definitely plan to keep the pixelated graphics. and it's just like different kind of art. And although like a lot of people see it as a retro, right now we have kind of renaissance of like pixelated graphics, and a lot of like I personally like 90% of games I play are pixelated. That's my preference. That's like I enjoy that. So it's not necessarily just like it's not seen in gaming community nowadays as a worser visuals. It's just a visual style. So I do consider for some of my games using other styles. So far, just due to my skills, like I haven't played with 3D at all yet. So for now, all my plans are like 2D. Some of them are like in pixel art, some of them in a more like cartoony style. But yeah, that's where I am right now. Will I ever do 3D games? Maybe, but it more like depends on like the people I'm working with rather than yeah. For my ideas, 2D is enough. But yeah,
Okay.
I understand that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to call on Mark next. Mark, can you unmute yourself? There we go.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Hello.
Okay. Hi, Igor. I wanted to continue a little bit the conversation that was started about story and dopamine. I'd like to hear your comment that I think story is an important social technology. We build community. We teach each other important ideas. And the comment about being addicted to reading novels is story produces or promotes dopamine as well, I believe. So all these things are part of story. And story started orally, then it was written in text, and then it was electronically published. It became movies. So is this new evolution of game, so a more interactive way of engaging in story and of fulfilling those tasks that the technology is invented for? Is gaming just, or is it a new form of storytelling? Is that what's going on?
I think, and that's what I like. I think, like slightly talked in the beginning. It is a new, but like some people argue that it's not. But the biggest difference that a game is a story about you, because you do the moves. Even if it's like as simple as Super Mario, you press the button left and right and so on, you make the decisions, you embody the character of the game, and this ultimately makes it a story about you, and this produces so many effects that like are not in the conventional storytelling. Although I personally know quite a lot of scholars who would say that, like, no, book also doesn't have a story on its own. Reader produces a story while reading the book.
Right.
And this is a valid argument, but the difference in the book, you don't even need to make this argument. It's just like out there right away. So it's kind of like that central part of what a game is, while in the book, it can be like deduced as like in this way. And if you make this argument, you can see that you can argue that the game is continuation in this direction. But I would still say that this is a very big difference and emphasis. And that's kind of the same as I would say the closest comparison video games have, and that sometimes I even frame it this way, that video game is a mass-produced performative art. So, like, there is a lot of performative art where audience is part of performance. So, in a way, video game is a mass-produced performative art where you cannot script exactly what's going to happen, because you need participants to make the story to happen. So as long as you can say that this kind of performative art, like inclusionary or like interactive performative art, is continuation of a story, then the game is also continuation of story. If you think it's like a strong diversion from like the conventional story, then the game is also a strong diversion in that direction.
That sounds good to me. For example, opera is a performative art that probably wasn't available during the original oral storytelling. So we've expanded art and storytelling, not just along the line that might include games. So let me finish with this. When we look back from here, we go backwards, we see movies and then text maybe and printed text and then oral. So there's a line. When people a couple hundred years from now look back, will they see gaming as an evolution in the same line, in this same history?
It definitely, I would say, branched from it, but whether it will be a parallel branch or become the main branch, I am not sure. And I think that the branching is this by, like, so to say, like a variable or parameter of like agency. So games have so much more about agency that like more conventional media compared like to opera and like other stuff. And like one of the examples, for example, when you read a book, can you feel shame? Yes, you can. But again, if you're talking about like a story, not about like I don't know, like philosophical book. If you have a story, and if there's a hero there makes something that makes you feel shame, it's more like a second hand, like a shame, like it's indirect shame. But in a video game, you can actually be ashamed of your own actions inside the video game, and this creates a very more personal experience compared to books and movies. And I do think that's unique to video games compared to, again, performative art can do the same. Like there are like quite a lot of like performative art that makes participants like ashamed of their actions or something like that. But like books, not really. Like you get ashamed of somebody else, or you can get ashamed of your own story based on your experience because you compare it to something else. But that's still kind of like divergent from what's going on there. But in the game, you are actually ashamed of what did you do in the game. And like when games manage to do that, I think that's brilliant. And some games do that.
That's very cool. Thank you very much, Igor. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
And Ingun.
Yeah, you have sort of commented on the things that I was going to bring up, but I just wanted a quick word saying that I totally agree or support this thought of video games being like a democratization of the storytelling and performance world that sort of belongs to all of us. And now it's easier than before for everybody to pitch in and participate actively, personally on their level. And I think that is actually a very good thing and a very hopeful thing for the world. I mean, people engaging in their own world, their own realities, that is so important. And there's also this thing that we have, the world is now, more than 8 billion people. That is a lot compared to when I was born. If you want, like, talking about young people versus older people and video games, this world with 8 billion people requires different tools, different means of communication compared to what we did when I was let out in the morning and pulled back in for dinner at the evening, face to face with my peers all the time. That world doesn't exist anymore, right? So we need different tools for different worlds. And it has a lot to do with simply the number of people around. And then third, I wanted to, one thought came to my mind about play altogether. At some level, you can't really compare versions of play, games. It's just what's available. And at some point, physical ice hockey was what's available. One other time, it's another game that's available. It has a role in. I'm sure you can being anthropology being your thing. I'm sure you can say a lot more about that. But I just wanted to point out that at some level, it doesn't matter which form of game you have. It's gaming and playing in itself has a function for human beings and human society. So that is a topic in itself that is where all this comparison of games should be grounded in that function. And when you look at the puppies play too, right? They prepare for their real life coming later on, and they're super violent. I mean, they're a lot more violent than real dogs, right? Like grown up, well-behaved, well-trained dogs. They behave nothing like the puppies, biting and growling. So, okay, I'll stop there. If you have any more, I'd love to hear if you have more comments on that. But like I said, you have basically talked about it already.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just wanted to add one thing about it's also context change. And one of the funniest thing about not letting kids play by themselves outside. Right now, the crime rate is way lower than 40 years ago, but parents are way more wary of letting their kids playing outside by themselves than 40 years ago. That's also a big part of that, this kind of perceived danger versus real danger, and how how society and government and popular discourse is can a responsible adult let the child go outside now in the morning and came back in the evening? Oh, they will be shunned by the peers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of social pressure. There's a lot of things to that. So it's also part of the equation of why people don't go play outside and so on. The society evolves. Not all of those things are in a good way. Some are in my perspective. I think we are getting worried too much about safety. On the other hand, that's maybe it's just because I was born in Russia and my safety standards are way lower than what I see here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Elka?
Yeah, this is sort of complicated. I want to go back and pick up what you said about feeling shame. I'm presuming you just picked shame as an example of an
Yeah.
emotion. Yeah. Because I've got all kinds of things that I'm wondering about. Is everybody capable of feeling a broad range of emotions? Some people aren't. Some people lack empathy, so it doesn't matter what they're doing, they're not going to be, capable of having anything. I certainly do not agree with you that in reading a novel, and if an emotion is triggered somehow, it's not a real genuine love, hate, shame, whatever. I certainly don't agree with that. And I would go further and say that in expressions such as in poetry, in art, and in music, we go even deeper into emotional interactions because we are trying to express and share emotions for which there are no words. And that's why we don't use words. However, on the other hand, I think there's a physicality involved in gameplay. And I don't know, I've never played a game, but I imagine that there's a physicality involved in play gaming that it's not necessarily a question of better or worse. It's just different. It's a very different kind of experience. And I don't even know if it's useful to compare them, with reading a book.
Yeah, I also didn't mean it in a negative way. It's more partially in academia you need to make an argument and space for value judgments to some extent and so on. But what I was saying is not that emotions are less genuine. I was more saying that they are in terms of direction of when you write a poetry or something like that. I 100% agree about that. No, but I mean when you read a story about something and you feel ashamed for a hero doing something, your feel of shame is a second-hand shame. Not doesn't make it ingenuine. It's just it's not the same feeling as if you're ashamed for what you did, because that thing you didn't do. So it's kind of a first perspective from second perspective. It's not better or worse. It's just a different perspective. When you write, especially poetry, especially if it's expression of your own thoughts, for sure that's a first person perspective. But I mean, when you read a story, this is at least to some extent, necessarily a second person perspective. In the game, it has more of a first person perspective because you actually make decisions, you make choices, you do stuff, so you have direct responsibility for your action. That's why I think the shame is like a more easy example to like highlight that.
Yeah. And that's why I thought the physicality is different, because I know
Yes, absolutely.
when I write poetry, I begin with pen and paper and I write cursively, you know, and then I'm on the screen and then I'm moving things around. But that's different from when I'm reading a poetry someone else wrote, you know. There's something, and we know that there's some connection with cursive writing in the brain that
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Igor, at this point, I would like to say, on behalf of Toronto Mensa, please accept our thanks for your really fascinating talk.
Thank
and
you.
you're engaging everybody in discussion. I think this has been really quite an engaged group today, and you've been responsible for that. And as a
Thank you.
sign of our appreciation, we will be sending you a small gift.
Thanks.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone in the audience. Some of you participated, some of you were listening and engaged. Either way, it was really a pleasure to have you here, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, until the next time.
Yeah.
We'll end here. So bye now, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.